Hello, everybody. It's Thursday, and we got a weekend right in front of us. We also have some weather right in front of us, too, tomorrow with a lot of rain. This is Captain Marty. Thank you for checking in with us. I'm going to be right back to tell you what's going on inshore, offshore, backcountry, the whole 9 yards. So stay right there.
Hi, I'm LB Daniels, and when you want great local seafood, you go to Fresh Catch Seafood in Wanchese. How do I know it's great? My daddy is one of the fishermen that brings it to the docks. At Fresh Catch Seafood, you will get local seafood right from their fish house. They are a family-owned business that knows the name of every fisherman that comes to their docks. Visit their social media pages to see the latest catches. My daddy would love to put his tuna on your dinner plate, so get it now from Fresh Catch Seafood in Wanchese.
Welding. It's ultimately the use of lightning to fuse metals and steel together. And at Wanchese Metalworks, that's what they do best. Specializing in marine fabrication and repair on sport and commercial fishing vessels, Wanchese Metalworks does fuel tank fabrication, rod racks, rocket launchers, T-tops, towers, struts, rudders, trim tabs, and green sticks, just to name a few. They also do interior and exterior handrails and stainless kitchen work too. Whether it's MIG and TIG or arc welding, Wanchese Metalworks does it all. They're the realest of the real when it comes to metal and steel. Wanchese Metalworks, 102 CB Daniels Road, Wanchese.
All right, for starters, the offshore fishing, they had to earn it. Some of the boats made it out, and some of the boats got in a full day of fishing, but it was rough, especially in the morning. A lot of boats, both Hatteras and Organ Inlet. By the way, these two reports will be the same today because their catches were identical. But like in the Organ Inlet fleet, about half the fleet turned around and said, nah. But the half that did get out had good dolphin fishing. And same thing for down in Hatteras. I saw Jessie Anderson on the Carolina Girls. She had nice catch of dolphin, a couple of wahoos. And that's what I saw pretty much across the docks. The Organ Inlet fleet did have several blue marlin flags in the riggers with blue marlin that were released. But overall, it was like, get your day in, get some eating fish, and we're on a day-by-day basis right now. A lot of rain coming on Friday, so we'll just have to see what the weather brings. We've had so much swell on the beach, and it's the inlets getting across the bar that's more of the challenge than it is getting offshore. And I will throw this in, I'll probably get shot for this, but when you have a big groundswell, if you have a big groundswell, that's more of a seasick type ocean. Trust me. I know a choppier, quicker movement is not as bad on people as a long, big swell. So anyway, day by day, not totally unusual for this time of year. And we're just thankful that storm is going to go up inside of us and be maybe a rainmaker for us on Friday. But we'll take that over what those people on the Gulf Coast are going to deal with this evening. Inshore fisheries, pretty much the same as well. Red drum, ribbonfish, and bluefish. And plenty of all three. So that's good. That's keeping our nearshore boats busy. And there's also, I mentioned the drum. These drum are in the inlet, outside of the inlet, and back in the sound. So you'll hear about them several times in today's report. One of the places you'll hear about that is on our pier fishing. And it's hit and miss now. It was really every pier, every night. It's hot and cold. But when it's good, it's very good. These fish are moving up and down the beach, feeding on schools of menhaden, and more than that, they're feeding on mullet, jumping mullet, and running them right up on the beaches. I've seen some events of that going on. That is something to see when bluefish or drum run the bait fish up on the beach where you can just go there and pick them up with your hands. Kind of sucks to be a finger mullet. But anyway, fish up to 54 inches. That's a big red drum. And some in the smaller sizes, the yearling size as well, especially on the surf. Problem with the surf fishing right now is it's hard to hold bottom. With as big a sea as we've had running, really hard. A little bit more doable on the pier, if that makes sense, because you can get on the north side or the south side of the pier and let your line just go downstream, whichever side that may be, and handle that all right. When you're on the beach and you throw out a pyramid sinker or whatever kind of sinker you're going to use, and it just rolls on down the beach with the big swell and the tide, it makes it very, very tough. If it would calm down, what we were catching is bluefish, and some pompano, a few pompano, and there's still some of those around. Sea mullet, spots, croakers, small sharks, things like that. But really, all the focus has pretty much been on the drum fishing, and most of that has been off the piers. There have been, of course, Cape Point is one of the most famous drum spots in the world. That Cape Point being right down there in Buxton and Hatteras, but I don't know. There's a lot of stuff floating around down that way right now, and some of those beaches are closed. So you want to be very, very careful and watch what you're doing. And we'll take a little break, and I do have some interesting stuff to share with you in the backcountry, so stay right there.
Welding. It's ultimately the use of lightning to fuse metals and steel together. And at Wanchie's Metalworks, that's what they do best. Specializing in marine fabrication and repair on sport and commercial fishing vessels, Wanchie's Metalworks does fuel tank fabrication, rod racks, rocket launchers, T-tops, towers, struts, rudders, trim tabs, and green sticks, just to name a few. They also do interior and exterior handrails and stainless kitchen work too. Whether it's MIG, TIG, or arc welding, Wanchie's Metalworks does it all. They're the realest of the real when it comes to metal and steel. Wanchie's Metalworks, 102 CB Daniels Road, Wanchie's.
Told you I had something interesting to share with you. The backcountry is, to me, anything in the inlet or in the sounds, any of our backwaters. I've been watching a little bit. I always keep an eye on the Stumpy Point Highway. I go back and forth to Manio from over here in Engelhard. It's about a 50-mile run, and it's different bridges and places people like to fish. And I am seeing a little increased interest there, even though the water is really high with this king tide right now. But when I see those people start showing up on those bridges, I know that the fish that have been out in the ocean all summer are starting to move back into the sound for the winter. Keep that in mind. But we have the drum bite we've been talking about every day. But my friend Captain Dickie Harris, who has the charter boat Fantastic out of the Oregon Inlet Fishing Center, he was one of those boats, like I mentioned earlier, that decided not to go offshore yesterday. So he did what every good charter boat captain does when he has a day off. He went fishing. He went back in the sound, had a very interesting catch he sent me a picture of. That included 12 speckled trout with his group. And they were all nice ones too. So that's really encouraging. 2 sheephead, 4 of those 4 to 6 pound bluefish, just a great size of bluefish. You'll never guess what the last item in his catch was. I saw a bag laid out there with his catch. I'm like, why did he put like a Food Line bag I'm talking about? Well, what is that laying there and what's in it? And he laughed when I asked him what that was. And he said, that is shrimp that they caught while cast netting. While they're drifting around in the sound, a lot of people have been just throwing a cast net, and there's probably a little more to it than that. You probably have a certain better place to go than others, but they did really good. And I'm going to talk more about the shrimp in just a second. The other thing that's going on, we mentioned the drum on the shoals at night, but with the surf being like it is on the beach and all that drum, a lot of people are jumping over onto the sound side on the back of Hatteras Island and fishing along the shoreline, without a boat, just with waders or right now the water's plenty warm. You don't need waders. You can you want something on your feet, old tennis shoes or whatever. But there's a pretty good drum bite. Now that's not going to be as many of the big ones if you're fishing from the shoreline, but there's a lot of yearlings back there, some speckled trout, and that is some of the most enjoyable fishing there is on the Outer Banks because there's plenty of room to spread out. It's quiet. You don't have a motor, you don't have a boat, and you just want to be careful where you park on the highway, or if you take any of those access roads, make sure they're open to vehicle traffic. You might have to park on the highway and walk, but you won't be walking far. So keep that in mind. That's my tip of the day for you. So you got all that going on. And before we wind up, I did mention I wanted to say something else about the shrimp. I was talking to Luke Midget yesterday, Insane Seafood. He has a location in Stumpy Point, and he has another one, a really nice new place over in Columbia, right on Highway 64 in Columbia, North Carolina. Just you go right by it on your way to or from the Outer Banks. So over there, he's just mentioned that the shrimping is really good right now, and he gave me a price for 1620s that I could hardly believe. But it was like $3.50 a pound for 1620 count shrimp. Those were the large white shrimp, and they are plentiful. Remember, they don't shrimp on the weekends. You can't, by law, you cannot shrimp on the weekend. But the shrimp boats Monday through Friday evening, it's a great time to check them out and get you some bulk shrimp purchases. And you can head them yourself, and you can freeze them. There's nothing to it. And I wouldn't go to the trouble of driving to either location without buying 50 pounds of shrimp. And you think, what are you talking about? Well, 50 pounds of shrimp like that with heads on, when you head them, that makes about 30 pounds of shrimp. And that's more manageable, but $3.50 a pound, you're doing good. You go take them. Of course, you want to cook some up fresh, all kinds of things. I steam a lot of extra shrimp, and then the next day make shrimp salad, which is delicious out of it. I love a cold next day shrimp and cocktail sauce, really good. But you can fry them, you can do whatever you want. And then whatever you don't eat fresh, you put them, a lot of people put them in a milk jug or a Tupperware bowl, plastic bowl with water and freeze them like that. And the shelf life like that in your freezer is 6 months or better. So go ahead and buy us, and you'll be surprised. If you're here and got a house for the weekend and you go visit Insane Seafood and you buy 50 pounds of shrimp, you and your 2 or 3 families head them and get 30 pounds of shrimp, they won't make it back to Ohio. I promise you, you'd be amazed how quick you can get through 30 pounds of shrimp. So keep it in mind and don't fall for the big grocery store shrimp that don't come from this area, and I'll leave it at that before I make somebody mad. So anyway, that's what's going on in our fishing report. Saturday coming up, rainy, warm day for the opening day of black powder season for the deer hunters, also Youth Day. And the next change in weather where it might cool down a little bit looks like Wednesday. So I'm hoping for that. Just don't like deer hunting when it's 85 degrees. So that's my report. Thank you for checking us out and coming back. If you're a regular, if this is your first time, we do really appreciate your visit. Have a great day. May God bless.